That brings up proclamations and recognitions. Mayor Bender to read the Public Works Week proclamation.
This is a proclamation in recognition of National Public Works Week. Whereas public works infrastructure, facilities, and services are of vital importance to sustainable communities and to the health, safety, and well-being of the people of the city of Red Wing. And whereas such facilities and services could not be provided without the dedicated efforts of public works professionals, engineers, managers, employees, and administrators who plan, build, operate, and maintain the transportation, water supply, water treatment, stormwater, and solid waste systems, public buildings, parks, cemeteries, airport, and other structures and facilities essential to serve our citizens. And whereas the efficiency of the qualified and dedicated personnel who staff public works and engineering departments and offices is materially influenced by the people's attitude and understanding of the importance of the work they perform. And whereas the year 2016 marks the 56th annual National Public Works Week, sponsored by the American Public Works Association. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Daniel D. Bender, Mayor of the City of Red Wing, call upon all citizens and civic organizations to acquaint themselves with the various aspects of public works and engineering service and to recognize the contributions made by these professionals every day to our health, safety, comfort, and quality of life.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Council.
Thank you. The annual meeting of the Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. Mr. Drotos.
I apologize. I was here earlier this afternoon to practice, and that's more like it. Thank you. First of all, I would like to thank the mayor for the recognition for Public Works. It was a surprise to me to be the face of Public Works at this meeting, but I just want everyone to know I am thankful for the people I work with and for the people I work for the city. Now we can start the normal part of the program. Good evening, Council President, Council members, Mr. Mayor, my bosses, my friends. Every year I like to start this program with a recognition of our Earth Day cooperation with the high school. This year Earth Day was actually on April 22nd, and the Day of Caring and Sharing saw 600 high school students participate in some of the work needed by the City of Red Wing. This is a great opportunity for students to find out about city trails, parks, buildings, structure, and by actually helping out and getting some hand-on experience with how much work it takes to maintain the city, we see this as good buy-in, and it shows we teach kids to have respect for public property, which is a great part of this program. Anyway, we're thankful for the helpers we had this year, and they accomplished a great deal. I happen to be at Oakwood Cemetery, which is what we see here. Now I would like to start the meeting. This is the 9th annual meeting concerning Red Wing Stormwater Pollution Prevention Plan. It's my job once again to update you and our citizens about the progress we are making against urban stormwater pollution. This is a state-mandated program administered by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency, and it requires that we address each of these minimum control measures that you can see up there. And what's important here is it's stated as the maximum extent practicable. So all of these things that we have to do have to have a measure of common sense and fiscal responsibility. Basically, urban stormwater pollution is caused by runoff from streets, sidewalks, and especially from construction sites within our city. This report summarizes the SWPPP annual report, which we will be sending to the MPCA by the June 30th of this year. And this meeting also acts as one of our primary goals, which is to keep the public informed about what we are doing and how we are doing it, and especially the outcomes of our work. 2015 was a transitional year for our stormwater pollution prevention plan. On February 9th, this organization actually changed Division 57, which is our building code, which deals with stormwater runoff. This leveled the playing field with 153 other cities in Minnesota, and basically it started the drive for actually trying to put groundwater, or putting stormwater back in the ground where it actually belongs. Starting this year, any impervious area, which would be a parking lot or construction site with over 1 acre of area, actually has to return the first 1 inch of stormwater back into the ground, either through infiltration or ponding, or basically just is just trying to get it back into the ground. So certainly this erosion is always a problem on construction sites, and it's one of our principal goals to manage that erosion and work with builders and contractors. However, certain storms approaching 3 inches last year were very difficult on stormwater pollution prevention, including the courthouse downtown, or excuse me, the Citizens Building. Anyway, our stormwater goals remain constant, and our SWPPP program, as it matures, we have to be more focused on the results of what we are doing. Those results actually begin at home, where we train our own people. Our city workers, of course, move the most dirt, dig the deepest holes, and certainly put on the most miles in vehicles in the city. So our education program is to inform them and to help us learn more about erosion control, report about noncompliance, and do spill mitigation out in the field. We also train our summer helpers who are out and working outside to pay attention to these issues and take them very seriously. So paying attention to citizens' reports and problems is also a big part of our jobs. So I want everyone to understand that when you call the Stormwater Department, Public Works, we will take calls concerning spills, litter, or erosion very seriously, and we will get something taken care of. Now, you remember last year we talked about finally putting spill kits in our vehicles, and fortunately for me, last year I participated in 4 different spills. This one happened to be just antifreeze, but the people's first response normally is just to wash it down with a hose, which is about the wrong thing you can do. Because actually what you want to do is just absorb that material, get it off of the street, and then dispose of that properly in the trash where it will be taken care of correctly, instead of washing it down into the ground or into a storm sewer system into the river. So I personally, as I said, have participated in spills of hydraulic fluid, gasoline, iron oxide, and of course this spill, which was antifreeze. So it's kind of an ongoing thing, but fortunately we take spills very seriously in the city of Red Wing and in the area because of the Mississippi River. And we are fortunate to be the host of the City of Red Wing for a conference from the CARE group, which stands for Community Awareness and Emergency Response, which came together in Red Wing last August 12th. We trained on putting boom into the river and heavy anchors, and of course manipulating those things in order to prevent spills or to respond to spills of floatable material in the river. The fire department participated with us, and this is just some non-toxic foam which we use as a marker in order to contain it, and that actually was then removed by pumping that into a storage facility. So these kinds of drills are important because of our proximity to the railroads and certain industries in Red Wing that are very important that we pay attention to spills and their eventuality. Of course, on a different scale, this is something that was invented in the North Sea but still is available for this area and may include Lake Pepin. You can see the enormous size of that, but when put behind, pulled behind boats, it can actually skim off floatable material and congregate it and collect it to eliminate any potential for a dangerous or hazardous situation. The state of Minnesota is fortunate to have the Minnesota Duty Officer, which is a one-call response to any spilled or dangerous material that may enter the environment. This is limited to 5 gallons of petroleum, but all other materials can be identified, reported, and then a chain of command is set up automatically. This is a fantastic organization, and we actually used it twice in Red Wing last year. Some hikers that were reported, they reported a brown pudding-like substance, which was reported on one of our hiking trails in Red Wing. This is what it looked like. It's kind of hard to describe, but what we see here on Sand Hill, which that's what it looked like. It basically occurred because we had a painting contracting crew working on the water tower on the hill, and they were unfamiliar with the outcome when they dumped that material over the side. So again, this was a painting contracting crew. This was a non-toxic material, actually, because it came out of our drinking water supply. We were informed about it. We reported it. Because it was a dry evening, we also collected that the next morning and sent the crew out, the same crew who did a magnificent job just removing that iron oxide from the trail. So that's one example of a good, swift response by citizens paying attention, by Public Works actually being on top of it, and then cleaning up the spill. Another spill that was, I think, a little more serious, or definitely more serious, was we had a seal coat at the National Guard Armory last year, and due to the unfortunate timing of a rainstorm, that material actually washed off that parking lot and coagulated in various other areas. Unfortunately, those areas were headed right for the Mississippi River and the Cabo Marina. So our marina manager noticed it right away, reported this to our hazmat responder, which is Wilson Oil. This is the outcome much later, but we had globs of floating black material that were into the harbor. Fortunately, there's no current there, and we could seal it off. Mike Wilson, our hazmat responder, decided Clean Harbors needed to be called in, which is a professional organization, and fortunately, they did a fantastic job, not only booming it off, but cleaning up that material. Fortunately, also the boaters had there was a scum line on most of the boats, so that did not adhere and caused further cleanup problems. So we want to thank Clean Harbors and thank for the people with the foresight to actually have organizations like that that can step in an emergency and take care of it. The actual damage to the environment in this case was minimum. Our biggest construction project completed last year was the county school. Due to the erosive soil material and the weather patterns, we were having an extensive amount of rain. We had a lot of runoff from that site, and this picture is celebrating the fact that finally the sod is arriving and the site is finally secured. The extension of the size of that impervious area was handled by the extension of an existing stormwater pond there, so that material no longer runs off into our system but is entrained in a stormwater pond. Road construction is another very important part of our program, and we work closely with the engineering department, who does an excellent job overseeing erosion control, and we work very closely together. This is part of the levee wall project. It's something that you may have seen around town. They're using extensively now. It's called curtain boom, that actually hangs down below those booms like a shower curtain and contains the erosion inside of that barrier. It's later removed at the end of the project using dredging. So this is something that we're very careful and we follow the rules. We didn't know what to expect over the winter time, but fortunately this held up very nicely. Also, you can see here just what we have is the sheet piling completed, and they're actually pouring the form, so that was the end of the erosion potential once the sheet piling, the steel was in place and protected the river. The MPCA is trying to gauge the success of the SWPPP program constantly, and that really can only be tested and shown by the results of our continuing citizen participation in our programs. So once again, people paying attention and looking out for erosion is what we need to do. Fortunately, our major industries in town, and the railroad in this case, when there is a spill, this happened to be a hydraulic line to let go. People are prepared for it. They have the materials and the muscles to just clean that spill up. So that's why we don't see very many spills in Red Wing, because people know what they're supposed to do and then they do it. Even including the city in this case, where we actually They poured some concrete and created the correct slope for our septic site. So the city is also working hard to be in compliance with all the environmental rules implied. I just wanted to mention here that our greatest focus at this point is our grade school kids and our high school kids, but they are the pollution future for our city. So currently we are working with not only preschool but kindergarten, 3rd grade, 5th and 6th grade, the county school, and the 11th grade environmental science program. All these students learn about the environment and learn about the importance of stormwater pollution prevention, which affects them in the Mississippi River. Stormwater pollution is a big focus in public works, but it also, we work with engineering, planning, and the building inspector. And we continue to monitor and report on 7 industrial sites that the city operates, including the airport in Wisconsin. Finally, our education and outreach program will include the Smithsonian presentation, which is coming to Red Wing next year. We're very excited to be contributing to that and sharing in that exciting information for our citizens and the tourists that will come to Red Wing. Of course, we always have to ask ourselves who will protect our our lakes and rivers. This question has to be answered by each one of us, certainly at the council level, and each one of our citizens has to hopefully conclude that they have to take a part in it. Finally, I guess the real issue here is whether Mother Nature will appreciate what we're doing or not. So again, for the people that are helping us and for the city workers that go out every day and try and prevent pollution and prevent situations and spills, we appreciate their help. So this concludes the actual meeting part of our program. As I said, this information will be consolidated and sent to the state of Minnesota. If there is anyone here this evening that has a question from the audience or has a question about our stormwater pollution prevention program, they may approach the podium and they would be limited to 3 minutes of discussion time. Other than that, I would just request if the council has any questions about our program. And I know it's a long agenda, and I can sincerely thank you for letting me come in early this evening. But the bottom line here is that we are continuing to fulfill our mandates in the best way, and we have a lot of help from the Public Works people, which you celebrated and congratulated this evening. So thank you for your time.
And Paul, your pictures were wonderful. I thought that was a great way of illustrating what the problems are and some of the solutions. So I thank you for those.
Thank you. We really, we try, I think the agency and our program really needs to show people what's going on, and I think the citizens can appreciate that also. Thank you,
Yeah,
Mayor.
very good.
Hold on a second.
Paul,
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
quick question for you. So stormwater pollution prevention has been around for quite a while. Is there any mandates or additional changes coming forth that will change how we do some?
Actually, the program I discussed, Division 57, was such a major change in how construction is done in the state of Minnesota. I do not expect any real major changes. Well, that's only 3 years away now to the next permit, but generally we're catching up, and then we're also starting to look at the Mississippi River more closely and Lake Pepin, of course, those issues. But no, I do not expect to see much change at this point.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.